Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi Kay Begay, and I'm here to guide you through every facet of your flute journey. From personal growth to artistic excellence and business success, this podcast is your one-stop studio. I created Flute 360 because I, too, found gaps in my education and realized others might be in the same position. Let's uncover and amplify your voice, ensuring it resonates both on and off the stage. This is Flute 360, where everything is connected and your growth as a flutist is our mission. Today's episode 300 is titled Crafting Dreams, Peter Musenge's Vision for Flutes and Community Change. Are you feeling unseen and unsupported in your flute career despite knowing you have the talent to succeed? Do you have the skills but find yourself unsure of where to turn or how to get your career off the ground? The Flute 360 Studio is here to provide the guidance you need. Our customizable flute lesson and coaching packages are designed with you in mind, your goals, your challenges, your success, so you feel supported in every way. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to bang your head against the wall trying to figure it out on your own. I'm here for you. I've been there and I see you. You are a talented flutist who wants more. You want to use your musical gifts within a career you've built and can be proud of, but you don't know where to start. I can help. I only accept 10 students every year because my one-on-one support is deeply focused on you, ensuring you can thrive both creatively and financially. With only 4 spots remaining and a deadline of September 1st, now is the time to take the next step. You're the most important part of this journey, and we're here to help. Contact me at heidikaybegay@gmail.com or visit heidikaybegay.com. Thanks. Hey there, flutist. Welcome back to another Flute 360 podcast episode. I'm so glad that you are here. Today is a very special treat because I have a very special person who's in my life that I want to highlight and for you to learn from him and his story. His name is Peter, and he has been working with me this past year. He just finished his Flute 360 studies because he's going off to a university in Russia. His name is Peter, and I am so thankful that God put our paths together because even though I'm his air quote teacher, I've learned a lot from him these past 12 months. And because of that, I'm very, very blessed. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce you to Peter. He's a Zambian flutist. He really is excited about flute repair and building out his own flute brand someday. And he's about to start his collegiate studies in the fall of 2024. So welcome, Peter, and thank you so much for carving out time for me and for the listeners.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heidi, for having me. I'm so excited to be here, to be honest. It's nothing I ever thought of, but I'm here. So I think much has been said, but I'm Peter, flutist from Zambia. I just turned 20 July. Yay! And yeah, I'll be studying engineering in Russia, so I can't wait to travel. And yeah, I can't wait for our talk today. Looking forward to that.
You did just turn 20. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and funny how I was 19 when we first met and started our lessons together. And yeah, officially 20. I'm an adult.
Oh, shoot. I love seeing you on the Zoom camera because my heart gets lifted just because you have such a huge, bright, smiling face. And anytime we've gone into lessons or coaching or the accelerator program, you just bring not to sound cheesy because you know me, but this huge, massive ray of sunshine. And it's like, oh, Peter's here. And I feel like my day has been uplifted so much. So yeah, thank you again for being here. And let's go ahead. You mentioned a little bit about your backstory, but can you talk about like how you came to the flute and how and why our paths crossed about a year ago?
Okay, so I started learning the flute when should be 13, although it's not tracked, but yeah, roughly should be 13, somewhere 2015, 2016 from church. I learned through a church flute, very passionate, though my learning of the flute was so unguided. And, learning so unguided is so difficult. Lessons were so not structured. There was no one to ask for questions, and I had no mentor. So I went through that. And fast forward to 2023. Yeah, is it when we met?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny that it's through a Facebook post, and I don't think many would believe that.
Oh, wow.
Like we met through a Facebook post. Yeah, so when I saw a post of you advertising the Flute Accelerators program, and yeah, I have always been optimistic about opportunities. Like I'll just want to try out something with an open mind, not exactly expecting what would come, but yeah, just being open-minded so that if it does happen, yeah, I would benefit. But if it doesn't, yeah, maybe try out another thing. But I think this one was my shot, so I reached out to you, and it actually worked. So that's how I met you, and we we immediately started our journey together.
I love that. So let's go back to what you said about being resourceful. You hinted at it because you said that, your lessons and learning about the flute, you didn't have a mentor in the early stages from 13 to 19. But what I heard as your friend and as your educator is you were resourceful with the tools and with the websites that you had on hand. So I think from our discussions in the past, I remember you mentioning that you would look up YouTube flute videos and things like that. So what made you say, okay, like I don't have a teacher? Where did you start looking in order to help with your flute training? Did you know to go to YouTube right away, or what was that like?
Okay, I think for me, passion has been my driver, and when you're passionate about something, there is always that unexplainable drive that just pulls you and drags you towards, just getting what you want. You don't quite understand it, but it's always the feeling. You always chase something because you feel like it belongs to you. And that's what happened to me. I felt I needed to learn to play the flute and to play it really good. So I would find flutists that I would meet in church programs and ask them things I didn't know and just observe to learn from them. Yeah, and any opportunity I had to learn, I was really putting in my all to make sure I had the knowledge and I would develop the skill. So I would say passion has been a strong driver to help me get more resourceful and just keep searching and keep learning.
I love that. Yeah. And it's this unexplainable thing. I loved how you said that. So if you let that passion and that drive for flute playing or flute repair or whatever your passion is, be this force, right? And that's your focus, then if there's a will, there's a way. And if you don't necessarily have all the resources right then and there, that's okay. But like you said earlier, circling back to this nugget of being willing and having this open mind and reaching out. So fast forward after your studies, through your own home and through your own resources like YouTube, around 18, 19, when we met when you were 19, this is the thing a lot of 360ers have a hard time with, and that is reaching out. So you basically saw like one post from 360 about the accelerator program, and you knocked on that door and you asked. A lot of people, and I empathize with you, a lot of people have a hard time asking because that takes courage. And a lot of times people have a really difficult time asking also because they are worried about what the other person will say, if they will get a no. So can you walk us through your mindset of how you just, knocked on that 360 door so confidently? Like, well, what was your reasoning or your logic behind it? And were you afraid of a no?
Okay, so I think it's very human to feel that way. It's very human to feel to feel maybe insecure of reaching out and seeking opportunities. Like, I think most of us have felt that way, where like we have second thoughts, like, is she going to respond? Is she not going to respond? Is she going to respond in a negative, positive way? But I think just being optimistic is a choice, obviously. It should be a choice that we make. And every time when you're seeking for an opportunity, you have to be open-minded, which is a choice again you make. So I think it's just a pile of choices that you have to make as an individual, decisions you have to make of who you want to be and what you want to become, because these are things that no one can change, no one can force upon you. You have to realize certain things and make certain decisions of how you want to take things and how you want to be. And if you make those decisions, it means, you obviously seek for opportunities, and you won't have negativity while you search for opportunities. I think that's what I had. I made decisions to always utilize any opportunity I see or I saw online. And that was an opportunity I saw. I made those decisions and I had that mindset. So reaching out was just a part of the process.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I am so proud of you. Yes. And during that whole thing, I felt like I was in the student chair and you were my teacher there for the past 2 minutes. I'm like, yes, teacher Peter. Yes. Okay.
I honestly can confess you taught me well. So.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that could be literally today's episode's title. And that is Making Your Pile of Choices, with Peter Musenge. We can find a really creative title, but I'm so proud of you because that optimism and leading with your passions and following your heart, there are so many beautiful nuggets in what you just said these past 10 minutes. I'm so proud of you. And a lot of 360ers will resonate with your story in that way. So talking about passion, as we were going through this past year of coaching and flute lessons and the accelerator program, I learned something really neat about you. And that is that you have this passion and drive to be an amazing flutist, an amazing performer, but also a flute repair tech person someday. Well, you are one, and then nurturing that craft. And also maybe being, correct me if I'm wrong, a flute maker of your own line of flutes. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, you're correct. Oh, interesting topic. I always love to talk about this because it's something I really love. I've thought of it, and I feel I can do it. So I like to talk about it and share. So one of the main reasons why I got really interested in learning about flute making is because I learned to repair flutes. That's the first reason. I first learned to repair flutes. And after learning to repair flutes, I thought I can make flutes if I can repair them. Maybe I just need a set of new extended knowledge. Yeah, and how I learned to fix flutes is an interesting story. I think I can narrate it very briefly. I started learning using a church flute, somewhere 2016, 2015. And one of the church flutes that I used to use was a shareable one. So I used to play it and share it with 2 other guys. So one of the guys who got it, I don't know if he was unscrewing or the pads got what, but it's just stopped playing. And I had it and I just had to figure out a way to make it work. So I got my knives, my bread knife, and unscrewed the flute, tried to figure out how it would work, improvised a few stuff, and it did work. And it was something that was developing as I did it more. So when I hear someone else saying the flute is not okay, I'll try to experiment on their flute. And it started working that way. And I started understanding the key work of the flute, the springs and the pads, and simply the parts of the flute. And having that knowledge helped me learn to fix, to some extent, fix the basic parts of a flute that would maybe be in a problem. So after learning that, I thought I could make a flute if I can fix a flute. And from there, I started my interest. I started researching and can't wait to make my own flute someday.
That's amazing. And can you share, I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to share this with your new flute friends. And that is the passion behind why you want to make your own flute brand. And I believe the answer, one of the answers to this question is that the people and the friends and your community, citizens in your community, you have noticed that over time, a lot of your citizens and children in school don't have music resources or music instruments at their disposal. And so you want to be able to know how to engineer a flute, make a flute, repair a flute, come back to your town in Zambia and be able to create beautiful musical instruments for your friends. Is this correct?
Very correct. Thank you for a reminder. So let me also highlight that. I know that Heidi knows, but I currently don't own a flute. And the flute I currently use belongs to Mr. O'Brien, who is a music teacher at one of the academies here. So he lent me this flute. So owning a flute here is a bit expensive for the locals because of the exchange rate of different currencies. And so there are many people I know who have the potential to play the flute, who have played it, but have stopped due to, like they don't own a flute, or the flute they own is beyond repair and stuff. They can't get spare parts. And yeah, so there are many reasons to that. Besides that, I feel like in my community, we have like less recreational activities. So many youths are ending up getting into wrong activities that they wouldn't if they had an activity or a skill to help them earn money or just keep them busy and stuff. Yeah, we have teenage pregnancies, men getting into drug abuse and stuff. That's a problem that I see, and I feel flutes can solve that because, learning a flute requires time. Yeah, it's a skill, so you need to invest time. You need spending time on playing. So I just wish at some point my whole community can play flute. Yeah, I think that would be cool. So I'm making flutes for my community and my country so that everyone can play. How cool is that?
That's amazing. And as your friend, I'm about to cry. I'm on the verge of tears. And I've heard the story a million times, but the reason why I'm so proud and I respect so much your perspective on life and how you want to lead with this heart of servitude is because a lot of people and again, I'm very empathetic with this because I know I'm guilty of this, but kind of wrapped up in their own world where they don't see necessarily the issues of their community at hand. And we get so tunnel vision of like, what do I have to do today? And that's totally fine. But for you to open up your blinders and say, what is around me? What are the citizens going through? What are my friends going through? What is the problem in my community? And you are pinpointing it and you're saying there's teenage pregnancies and there is drug abuse. And you're coming to the conclusion of like, well, maybe these people are getting into these bad activities, not necessarily, everybody has a choice, but not necessarily because they want to, but because of lack of resources, and if they had some sort of recreational center, if they had some sort of athletic team or a musical orchestra to participate in and to have this creative outlet, then perhaps they wouldn't indulge in XYZ. And so not only are you pinpointing that issue, but you're saying, what can I do about it? And that is mind-blowing to me. And it's just a burst of inspiration that I need to hear. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. So the goal is maybe in future to also make a flute choir in my community. I think that would be like super cool. Yeah, to like bring everyone together and we can all play flutes and we can have maybe an African NFA, I don't know. Or maybe we can also travel there once and perform. That would be so cool, Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yes, yes, and yes. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have to found or establish the first Zambian Flute Festival. When you have your flute brands coming out and flute choirs playing, we're going to have a huge celebration in like 4 years.
Yeah, and not forgetting the shell logo for my flute. Yeah, remember?
Please talk about that. I can't wait for your friends to hear.
I should. So the shell that my grandfather, who once traveled to Tanzania for work, I think some years back before I was born, that was gifted to my mother and obviously owned by me now. It's like one of the precious ornaments I have. and I own. And it's so precious because it brings back so much memories, and it's like inspiration, how we can pass on something of impact to every generation. Like someone, like I treasure that now, but I don't think grandfather even knew me because I wasn't born that time. But I see so much when I see it. So it would be cool to add it as a logo on the flutes. Yeah. So can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah. It's going to say on the barrel of the flute, it's going to be etched in your name, Musenge Flutes. And in the middle, it's going to be your logo of the seashell.
Yeah, the seashell. So can't wait for that.
I get the first flute. You know this, right? Like, if I don't get the first flute, I'm going
You should. It should be a custom flute. It should be.
And only that you would customize and actually build it for me. Like, I don't want anybody else, like your employees or your staff. Like, it has to come from Peter Musenge.
It has to be me. So I will make it.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And what I love so much about hearing about your story and your lineage and your family's history is bringing that to the forefront and bringing that into like what you currently are passionate about. And then bringing that musical joy to your friends and citizens of your community. And these are high hopes. These are huge aspirations. And what I love about this story so much more is because you are not letting your current situation hold you back. How many times have you been like, hey, Dr. Heidi, like, I would love to do this, this, and that, but I have to only be able to, check into Zoom or do work for the internship on my phone. My laptop's not working, right? And you're not letting, the Zambian, you guys should have seen us before the actual recording of this episode. We were trying to make sure and cross our fingers that the internet connection was solid. And we're like, oh my gosh, here we go, right? Please work. And you don't let things like, poor internet connection hold you back. You don't let, even with your flute repair, you said, oh, I just got a butter knife and I figured it out. I can see a lot of people, including myself, saying, I don't have the right flute repair kit. I don't have the right screwdrivers, or I don't have the right nuts and bolts. But you MacGyver it. I don't know if you've seen the MacGyver show from the 70s in Zambia, but you're using tape and bolts and any kind of resource that you possibly can to get it done. And you're not making, you could easily make an excuse and be like, I don't have those resources. But you're not letting that stop you. You are being creative and you're driving towards that passion to complete your dreams. And that is so inspiring, Peter.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think that's also a perspective I learned from like viewing life in different perspectives, learning to appreciate every little thing, appreciating where you are. It mostly comes to many people when they see people who don't have and compare themselves and appreciate that. So I think staying in here in Zambia, in my community, I've had an opportunity of seeing life in different perspectives, different angles, seeing how people stay, how people suffer. And I feel like I'm not suffering because people are going through a lot here. So like there is a lot to appreciate rather than complain about. And yeah, I think that's something that has inspired my optimistic mindset and my endurance over obstacles.
Oh, I love that. So I know that your parents play a huge part in your life. Was there something specifically in your, you being raised as a child into adulthood that your parents instilled in you in those early days for you to have that perspective of not seeing obstacles, but instead being like, I'm curious. I want to explore. How can I get this done? Right? What lessons, or do you remember a story or anything that your parents instilled in you to have that perspective?
Okay, so like there is no like one specific thing I can mention, but it's like the whole journey, like every step has taught me something. So from my parents' background, to them encouraging me to grow up in church, because I've grown up a church boy. I think I was a choir master for the church Sunday school when I was very short, very young. So, like them pushing me towards church, very much encouraging me to grow up in the house of God, like spiritual teaching. And yeah, and most of the things I actually didn't inform also, like they didn't have to mention stuff, but I saw how my parents treated people, obviously, and how they lived and how they raised my siblings, because I'm the last child. I have like six siblings. So there was a lot to learn. So certain aspects of my growth that has been inspired by me observing how my siblings were raised. I learned the rules from my siblings. So I think it's holistic, but those should be some of the components. So how they raised my siblings, how they behaved, how they behave towards each other, my two parents, how they did behave, how caring they were, the way they communicated to us, the words they use, and yeah, how they related with other people in our community. And yeah, should be many should be that. So yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a friend who's the baby of the family. And I remember a conversation many, many, many years ago. And I asked her, like, how did you know, to pursue this or not to do that, or, not to get in trouble over here and whatever. And she was like, well, I'm the baby. I would see all of my older siblings do things that were acceptable and do things that were unacceptable. And I learned watching them. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I never thought of that because I'm the eldest of my family. So I didn't have an older sibling to demonstrate what to do and what not to do. I was like the guinea pig, and then the others got to watch. So I never thought of that because I'm the eldest, but thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I learned from other people's experience and it worked. So
yeah, love that. So speaking of family, let's go back to your dreams of building out your own flute and going off to the Russian university to get your engineering degree, music degree, things like that. Your culture, your Zambian culture and your language and the community that you've been raised in, I know plays a huge part in your development as well. And we were giggling, even though we're giggling, we're very serious by saying like, oh, we'll have to celebrate in 4 years with the Zambian Flute Festival. I know that that means a lot to you. And even though we're giggling and it sounds like, air quote, a joke, it really isn't, because I know you want to bring back to your community so much joy and happiness and culture. At the same time, you want to highlight your beautiful Zambian culture to the rest of the world. So I know today you wanted to share with flutists a beautiful Zambian melody to bring awareness around your culture. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, very correct. Very correct. So actually, this is a very famous melody. I think it was composed by our first president, who was Dr. David Kenneth Kaunda. He died some years ago, but he was Zambia's first president. He was also a freedom fighter because Zambia was once a colony of the British. And we got independence in 1964. And this song was, because struggling for independence, there was probably some fights, maybe between the soldiers, the struggle and stuff. And they composed this song melody, which is, I'll mention the lyrics, then I'll play the melody. The lyrics are, Tiende pamozi ndi mtima umozi. So tiende pamozi ndi mtima umozi is Nyanja, which means let's walk together with one heart. So tiende pamozi ndi mtima umo, which is let's walk together with one heart. Again, tiende pamozi ndi mtima umo, let's walk together with one heart. Then the chorus is, are youth and which says, youths, let's walk. Then again, the others respond, let's walk together with one heart. So that's a song, very beautiful song. And the melody goes like, Yeah, this is a famous melody. Yeah, and everyone in Zambia should know it. I would be worried if someone said they don't because, yeah, it's so famous.
You would be worried if they didn't. I love that. I love your humor.
I would be worried.
Oh, that was so lovely, Peter. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful melody. And I love how you explained what it was about in the lyrics and singing out. How amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very amazing.
So what would you like to do in terms of like, so, here we're talking about bringing flutes to Zambia. We're talking about Zambian Flute Festivals. Can you see yourself, I don't know, maybe composing or arranging some amazing flute choir pieces, right? By you taking like a simple melody, a folk tune like that, and embedding it into a flute choir arrangement or an orchestral piece. Do you think like composition or arranging to some degree is in your future? Or are you kind of leaving that open for like these, amazing open opportunities?
Okay, thank you. Actually, for me, I feel like anything that has to do with flute is my responsibility. So from making flutes, playing flutes, composing for flutes, everything should be part of me. So I have had thoughts of maybe arranging or rearranging or composing flute melodies. I have a couple of melodies, although I'm just doing more research so that I'm well equipped before I get into the compositions and writing down or arranging. Yeah, but that's something I've thought of. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. Yeah. So we've covered a lot today between your goals and ambitions, flute repair, having this optimistic mindset. Is there anything that you want to leave the listener with? Something that you've learned these past few years that you want to portray to your friends? Something that you're thinking about for your future endeavors? Anything that's on your heart, I would love to like wrap up this amazing conversation with.
Okay. Something I learned from our time together, I think it's a very important nugget for every flutist, is like appreciating every win, like every small win. Having maybe some minutes of holding the flute and practicing, even though it's not an hour, you have to like appreciate that. Appreciating an opportunity, be it small or big, should be appreciated. Sometimes we look down on small opportunities, and yeah, everything should start small. So if you look down on small opportunities, we shouldn't expect it to grow. So appreciating small opportunities, being open-minded and optimistic, always trying. Like, I think there's this saying that I always share with my friends. I always tell them, if it's easy, then it's a scam. So like, if it's easy, it's a scam.
Yeah.
If it's easy to get, it's a scam. You know how like Facebook scammers be telling you get like millions of money if you click on a link. Yeah, like how would you get millions just by clicking on a link? So if it's easy, then it's a scam. So everything good should take time, should have not necessarily everything. It's different. Every journey is different depending on the person, but generally the journey is not always going to be smooth. There will be lapses, there will be hurdles, but we have to always keep trying, being optimistic, and yeah, self-motivation, appreciation of yourself and the little efforts that you put in is very important to development. Having a positive mindset, looking at things positively, I think that's one important aspect I would like to share and highlight to every listener.
That's amazing. Yeah, what I hear from that is every day is a new day, and take it, by the reins and ask yourself, what good can I do today? Right? So that way you have that positivity and optimism as you head into the next 12, 14, 24 hours. And on the flip side, just because this is very much, I have to put a preface to this so that way you guys know where I'm coming from. context-wise, Peter and I love to giggle and laugh through our flute lessons. So I'm going to flip it to us being comical and giggle together. Remember when you said scam? Remember that one lesson where I told you, I said, oh, in the 90s, like you weren't even born in the 90s, but remember how I told you, I said in the 90s, we would get these spam emails from like this Nigerian prince.
From the Nigerian
prince who said, if you click here, you will now be a millionaire because I am king of this village. And I want to share my wealth with you. Remember that?
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. That always puts a smile on my face. Oh, shoot. And you already know this, Peter, but I have to say this out loud just so I can put a stamp on this beautiful conversation. And our relationship is going to unfold for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So I cannot wait to see how you're going to mature as an adult. And I'm going to be there every step of the way because I cannot wait to see how this story ends. This is where I need to kind of put a stamp just so I can say this out loud and share it with you again and with our friends. And that is your relationship with me and mine with yours is a complete full circle moment in my life. And you know this because this was our very first conversation we had before our first lesson, coaching, or accelerator program, how I shared with you how I felt drawn to support you and serve you in some capacity because my great-grandfather on my mother's side, great-grandpa Rosenow, was a Christian missionary, and he's from Eastern European Russian descent. And he came to Central African Republic and established churches and ministries in his name and to help people come to know God. He translated the Bible from the English version into the village's language. And I still have great uncles and like, I guess what you would call like, you know, semi-grandfathers and like that lineage, right, of Rosenows still in Central African Republic, continuing their mission work. And it felt like I was being brought back to those roots, you know, the legacy and the work that my great-grandpa did. And to me, I was raised hearing of these amazing stories from the villages of, you know, what my grandpa, my great-grandpa, and great-grandma went through. Like there was one time this cheetah that came into the village and just tore up the entire village. And one of my grandpa's brothers ended up getting this cheetah to prevent like future damage and future harm. And there's like this amazing black and white photo of my great-grandparents in this African village. And you get to see their work and stories. And I heard of these stories growing up as a little girl, you know, and when God put on my heart, hey, Heidi, start a flute studio and be Dr. Heidi someday. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I was going to come back to the heart of where my great-grandparents lived and worked and breathed for 20 plus years, you know, with people. I mean, it's of a different village. I mean, Zambia is not the same, but in that general location of expanding my flute studio to amazing, beautiful people like you from halfway across the world in the similar neck of woods where my great-grandpa did work. And my brother-in-law, and you know this, and you and I resonate so much because you and I would giggle over things that Kenny says and does. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have the same mannerism as him. And then it's another full circle because my sister married a Kenyan man. And the way he talks to me and the way his mannerisms are with me, I see so much of that in you. And I'm like, oh, Peter is like a brother to me. And it's just like these full circle moments. And I know that was long-winded, but I just felt the need to like bring that back to where we started this conversation with passion, leading with passion, family history, legacy. What's the work that you're being called to do? Because amazing people and relationships and doors are going to unfold if you listen to that and you are a huge part of that link, you are a huge part of that story for me. And I'm so, so thankful for your friendship, your relationship with me, and the things I've learned with you. And for me to be a small part of your journey and your musical journey means the world to me. And it's very much goosebumps. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have even planned any of this if I had tried.
I don't even know what to say, but thank you. I'm always grateful. And I think this has been one of those highlights of my life, one of those that just stay, one of those you always remember and live to tell, like the stories you live to tell and the experiences you live to cherish. Because for this past year, I saw you for like once a week, like every week I would see you. Every week we met, you left an assignment for me. So it was like my mind was set on flute, Heidi. And, you are like part of the thing I would think of every week. And so I've learned a lot from you, and I'm so grateful to God. Nothing I would plan, when I was sending that text message, how that thing where you don't want to be disappointed. So I sent you the text messages and deleted the chat just so I wouldn't be so expectant of your reply. Then you replied, and we finished the conversation. So I never thought that one text message would lead to all this and us talking now, which is so big. So can't wait to travel to the US and we get to play some duets together soon.
Yes. And it really can be just as simple as one text message.
Yeah, as simple as that.
Well, I'm so stinking proud of you, Peter, and you know how much I love you, and I think the world of you, and thank you for carving out time again for us, and hopefully your story and the lessons you've shared with the listeners today will have at least, I know more, but at least impacted one person, and that's why we're here. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon, Dr. Heidi. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too, Peter. Safe travels.
I will.
Talk to you soon. Boxer me anytime, okay?
I will. Bye. Stay safe.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. I want to personally invite you to take advantage of our free trial offer for the Flute 360 Accelerator Program this August 2024. This is a once-in-a-year opportunity to join our community, explore over 25 videos, and connect with our special fall guests like Dr. Catherine Eminent, Jolene Madewell, Dr. Danette Derby-McDermott, Corey Barger, and Daniel Velasco. Whether you're struggling with an injury, looking for personal growth, or needing help with your flute business, we're here to support you. Don't wait. This offer ends on September 1st. Let's talk about flute.